I'm glad you've joined us on the interview. You may not realize it yet, but your life is about to change. Hey, thanks for joining us this week on the interview. And I have two great friends, which if you were with us last week, you saw them introduced, but if you weren't, I'm going to introduce them right now. Mike Isley with Texans for Israel.
Hi, Rick.
You say that like you're a wrestler or something.
I could say something.
Caleb Waller with Hayabel, and also the Joshua and Caleb report.
Love it.
Okay, let's pick it up where we talked about last week. Mike, you were going to say something.
Well, we were talking about age, and down deep, in my heart, I'm just 18, but I just wanted to tell everybody that I would urge y'all to please go to the Hayabel website and pray about going to Israel and picking grapes in the fall with the Waller family. And I remember the first trip I went, it was rough, and I slept.
Why was it rough?
Well, I'm real lucky. Tommy is they have adopted me as a.
And Tommy is who?
Tommy Waller,
My father.
the father of this young man, and his beautiful mother. They have adopted me. So anyway, I was in this very small, what do we call them? Caravan. And so I slept in the room with all the family. That was kind of a new. I usually don't sleep with.
How big is the family?
Well, there was like 15 people.
But yeah, I think you were the bottom bunk.
I was on the bottom bunk.
There's like people above you, right?
There was Zach and Luke and me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little claustrophobic, and I thought, if they follow me, I'm going to die. And so I was so tired that day, but I fell asleep. But all I remember is that in the morning, all of us had one bathroom. I was going, and I started sweating. I was going, this isn't good. But to be an older person and going on Hayabel, you're called an elder. And, you get to be in the first line for food. And then Mr. Isley would say, okay, I need to go to the bathroom. And it was like the Red Sea part. So that's the good thing about being, and now there's a lot more bathrooms.
Yeah.
So,
Things have changed quite a bit since you last days. It's time to come back, Mike. But
I know. Well, I was there when the bathrooms had been there. It's a lot different.
I think we dedicated one up to you, I think, actually. Texans actually in there dedicated to Mike Isley. Right?
So being an older person is a great wonderful.
Okay.
My dad, when I tell you, I'll give you the backstory on why that's so important. And this is in all seriousness here, actually. My dad says, when there's a move of God, what happens if you look biblically here? Did God say, start a youth movement? No. He said, gather the elders. Gather the elders. And so my dad says, if there's going to be a move of God, there has to be the wisdom and the strength and the stability of the elders who establish the way that the energy of the young people can run with it. And so that's something I'm so blessed with right now is my father has brought in a strong community of elders that are standing and supporting us young guys, that to me, it's like I couldn't do half the things I do without their full support, because I'm calling them, once or twice a week. You might think when I give you a call that I'm, here to chat, but really you're one of those guys that I call sometimes that I feel so edified and encouraged and exhorted to do the next role. And that's the place of the elders. And that's the reason why you guys deserve the respect that you have.
That's really sweet. Yeah. Call the old man.
So do I show you enough respect, Mike?
No.
Caleb, that's one.
No. And our friend Larry's opened up both of them. Give him more respect.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so honored to be with you guys on this set, because I believe that what the Father is doing is he's built this network to be that platform to broadcast the message. And you guys should really think about how to empower the words of wisdom from the elder generation that's going to be able to empower us young guys on the road. And when I travel extensively around the world, and if I have the opportunity to zone in and say, wow, this is the ITV and network that I really could have the privilege of watching the message going forth, and I think that's awesome for you guys.
Well, that's one reason I think God has allowed us to have this beautiful company, because we're ready to do what.
I see that wisdom from Mike Isley's show. It's just the Mike Isley wisdom hour. Right?
I always try to put music with stuff and go, oh.
But tonight we're excited. Caleb is having a wonderful history of wine. It's tonight and tomorrow night, so we're going to have two large crowds for tonight and tomorrow night. So we're just so glad you're in Texas, going all over Texas to tell about.
One of the
Israel
cool
wine.
things is that we have filmed you doing the special, so our audience will be able to. You'll be able to see it.
Yeah. So like it's a story told through wines, but I'll tell you the whole backstory and what you actually were pulling this interview towards is actually the Joshua and Caleb report,
So which is a great show.
It's totally fun. I love it. I love the show. I love doing it actually, which is the funnest part for me. But I'll tell you the whole backstory to that whole how the thing came about. Because about 4 years ago, I was talking to my brother Zach, and I said, Zach, there is stories that are not being told. Everyone has turned Israel into such a theological debate. They've turned it into a political debate, and no one is telling the true story of what God is doing here in the land of Israel, right? And so as we were reading the story of Joshua and Caleb in the Bible, and I have a twin brother named Josh, so I don't know, I think 26 years ago, my mom named us. I don't think she quite realized the destiny that she was speaking of. But
it's very cool.
As I was looking at meeting all these Israeli friends, they're there in the mountain, the true pioneers, that God is working in such miraculous ways in their lives. I said, you know what? That's the true heart of Israel. That's the true stories that the world needs to know about. Because if you're broadcasting this message to the world of terrorism, pain, struggle, conflict, that's if you name Israel today, people would say, okay, give me 3 words to describe Israel. They're going to say terrorism, struggle, conflict, the whole thing. If you ask me to say, Caleb, explain what you would explain Israel as, I would say the pulsing energy of light that is exploding to the world. To me, that is something that we can connect to. Because and so many times I have been to pro-Israel rallies, which are awesome, and they're so politically driven, which is there's a good and a con to that.
Sure.
But I don't stand with Israel because Israel needs my help politically. I don't stand with Israel because Israel is some theological place that my faith connects to. I stand with the nation of Israel because it is the source of light, the source of good that is permeating the world. So that's the vision of the Joshua and Caleb report, is when I sit down and I hear people's testimonies of what God has done in their lives and what the journey he's brought them on, I'm sitting there just going, wow.
And may I say, the Joshua and Caleb, there's a show about this little shepherd guy that
we just aired that a few weeks ago. Yes, correct.
And then the guy that does chocolate in Hebron.
Oh yeah.
And then as of today, we are very blessed to be a part of our friend David Kern's movie called I Am Israel. And there would not be an I Am Israel movie without the Joshua and Caleb reports, because
true story.
That is in effect, that's 5 people that are like what y'all are doing on the show, but it's the people and their stories of they are doing great.
Okay, I've got to ask you some questions. Some of the funnest moments, is it always a one take on the show? Come on, and how many people are involved in putting this together? Because it looks amazing.
I'm totally blessed to have an incredible team of guys that are they're amazing. It's Luke Hilton is the producer. He's the guy that puts the whole set together and everything. And actually, due to my twin brother Josh, this third season that came out, Josh was getting married, and so Luke actually stepped in and took Josh's place. So I was really blessed.
He did a great job.
Luke was awesome on the set. So he and I really, which we got butted heads a little bit. Luke's like, Caleb, you gotta let me talk if we're gonna be on the set. Nobody else gonna have it, right?
But wait a minute, you're so quiet.
I was like, I can't imagine dominating the set. One time, I remember this one so like it was yesterday. The episode we did with Shlomo in Jerusalem, the 67, the guy that was actually winning Jerusalem in 1967, right?
Yes.
And
that was good.
That set, I remember I walked off the set and I was just like, guys, that was the most awesome interview I've ever done in my life. That is going to be the best episode, bar none. And the film guy turns to me and goes, Yeah, that's if we caught it. Said, you totally forgot about us the entire set. You weren't paying attention to us at all. You've got to stop. You can't run through Jerusalem and expect the camera guys to keep up with you, right? And I was like, oh no, right? I was so, they're awesome guys, but in the same way, they're like, guys, you got to understand that on a film set, you can't just, go crazy. You have to learn how to pause, stop for a second. You understand this, with the interviews and stuff. And so, yeah, it's been a work in progress. And I get so caught up and so emotionally interacted into the interview that I'm so engaged with the guys that I'm speaking to that all of a sudden I don't even realize the cameras are there. Which there is a positive side to that. But on the other hand, though, the camera guys are going, whoa, Gil, watch out. You can't go running down those stairs and expect the guys to catch it, right? And so, thankfully, the team really did a great job. And to be honest with you, Ben Hilton he's the main camera guy and the main director of the production aspect of it, post and afterwards. And he was 15 years old when we met him. And he had a passion for film and production. He was doing these cute little videos with his siblings and stuff like that. And he had a little, cheap camera that he bought. But we saw a talent there. And we said, Ben, we really want to groom you to be our Hayuvel media guy. And so at 15 years old, Ben started producing these films and started producing these little, he did promo videos for Hayuvel and stuff like that. And now today, Ben's, I think, 20 something like that, 20, actually 21, I think. And Ben is producing some of the most unbelievable footage from the land of Israel, which to me is totally God, because when I think about the land of Israel and I think about presenting the land of Israel and telling the story of Israel through the Joshua and Caleb reports or the story of Israel through her wines or any of these things, I feel as if at that moment when I step to speak, as if I'm representing the heart of God. And so it challenges me to say, I've got to do this to the highest way that I possibly can. And so that's the most exciting thing that I'm feeling with the Joshua and Caleb Report series, because we're about to come out with season 5. And I'm totally unbelievably stoked at what's about to roll out of that, because Josh is going to be back on the set. It's going to be the twin act again. And Josh and I absolutely, Josh is one of the most amazing brothers, obviously being a twin brother, but still on top of that, he's such a deep guy. I'm the kind of guy that just runs purely on emotion. Josh is one of those kind of guys that just, he's I'm just I'm flying over things like this, right? But Josh on the other hand is just more like, okay, let's keep this interview right here, right? And so that's totally awesome. But yeah, so that's some of the back scenes. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. I'm crazy. It's just.
Okay, so you're starting season 5,
right?
And because we started a brand new network,
right,
we are literally taking people through in order, straight through your series.
Wow, really? Wow.
I really like that.
So, well, we're going to see the progression in quality too, because I watch them the first ones and I go, wow, I can't believe I look so pathetic in that interview. I can't imagine.
They're still really good.
I know, but I'm sure they're great. But for me, that's the guy. But you grow. Oh yeah. Like one of the things
and plus, we're not looking at you guys. We're looking at the land of Israel.
Oh, sure. It's not with me. But one of the things the guys did to me in the last season, I was like, guys, I can't do that, because they told me, they said, Kill, we want you to open the setting, and then I want you to zip a lip for the entire interview. Josh is going to carry the interview, and then I want you to close it. And that killed me. I'm sitting there on the couch I can't just sit here and just watch. I got to engage with the thing. But then Luke Hilton's on the back after the set's going, Caleb, you took that interview to China and back. We're talking about the land of Israel here. Where in the world? And Ben's like, Caleb, that interview was 3 hours long. And you want me to chop that down to a 20-minute or 15-minute episode? What are you thinking? And so I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I was having so much fun. It was so awesome. I was loving it, right? So now, when they start the clock, Ben's like, okay, Caleb, we do a lot more. We do more reality action stuff now. But if it's actually a one-on-one interview, just like you said when I walked in the studio, he said, you got 27 minutes, and I want you to zip it at the end of 27 minutes. Right? So that's ridiculous. It's hard for you. Yeah, it's totally cool. But no,
I didn't actually use the term zip it.
But, you're showing an aspect of Israel that really no one else is doing. Because, I keep up on all this stuff, and it's amazing what y'all are doing. And I think you're challenging other people to talk about the people of the land. We love the book. We love the land, but the people. You're showing the real people and their stories. It's so inspirational.
We approve.
Yeah.
We love it. We love you being a part of
Well, I
that.
think the biggest theme, though, too, and I feel like this is what I believe everybody. I was talking to a potential investor in Hayuval the other day, and someone who's potentially going to do something for us. And I asked him as I walked into the interview, I said, do you look at Israel? I mean, into like the setting, and I was meeting him at his office. I said, do you look at Israel as a place of the past or a place of the future? And he kind of looked at me and he was like, I never really thought about that, And to me, if you look at the land of Israel from strictly a historical lens, you missed one of the most epic pictures that's being taken place. But you have to have the historical to connect with reality. But when you look at Israel as a futuristic place, it's like so many people today are like, we've got to solve the Palestinian versus Israel conflict. We've got to solve the problem. If you listen to their debates or their discussions or whatever they're bringing up, they're trying to bring a solution to the situation based on the past. And if you ever try to build a relationship that basically says, like between Christianity and Jewish people, let's take that for example. If I went to my Jewish brothers and I'm constantly going, okay, let's visit the Holocaust, let's visit the Inquisition, let's visit the Crusaders, and let's discuss all those details of what happened there and what all the bad things that we've done to you and all of these issues back and forth, and we're constantly discussing the past, are we going to build a relationship? Not really, because why are you experiencing all this stuff? If we're going to build a relationship with the Jewish people, we have to build a future for them. We have to build a future. So the same thing with the Palestinians, with the Arabs, let's say. Let's say, for instance, if you want to negotiate a two-state solution in the Middle East, you can't come in and go, okay, obviously we got good versus evil, terrorism versus Jewish guys, but then the IDF are doing this, and they're constantly debating all of these past problems. You're never going to build a future. But if you come into the land of Israel, like I believe that God's put Hayuval in this very unique place that says, you know what? The current situation may be negative. We may have a negative situation here, but there's a future here that's going to change the world. And so, I mean, I'd even bring a more closer to home example. Me and my wife. I would love to tell you that we never have disagreements, but for some reason we do occasionally. And obviously, right? But if me and my wife were constantly talking with each other about our disagreements, how much of a future would we build together? Nothing. But the fact that we look at each other and we say, we've got 4 daughters to raise. We've got a future of what our family is going to do and the mission that we're going on. Then we look at each other and we say, we're going to work past this difference because we have a goal that we're going to build for, right? So that's what's happened between us and the Jewish people today, is that all of a sudden Christians and Jews are coming together saying, we need to join arms in this battle for good in the world. And no, even though we may have differences between us and very major differences in some of our belief systems, it's not so different that we can't say we've got to fight against these evil forces that are trying to change things. So the Joshua and Caleb report is strictly saying, though there be giants in the land, there's massive giants in the land. Let's just say that there's these huge, all of the problems and the struggles that are taking place there. But Joshua and Caleb had a very interesting report. They said when they came back, they brought the good of the land with them. They brought the produce. They brought the beautiful land. They said the land flowing with milk and honey. It's absolutely amazing. And then they said, though there be giants in the land, our God is greater. You have to build a future. You have to build a thing that says we are going to succeed and we're going to do this, and it's going to be the most glorious thing in the world. And so that's the presentation that we've made to the world with the Joshua and Caleb reports as we tell people's stories. But at the same time, my one question that I usually always ask at the end of every interview is I'll say, what is your dream? What is your dream? Why are you doing this? I said, when you're sitting on the front porch and you're rocking chair and you're rocking back and forth and you've got all your grandchildren around you, what do you want to see? And it's always amazing to hear their response to that, because you see them sit back, their eyes kind of light up for a moment, and they basically say, I want a home. I want a place that my children and my grandchildren can live in peace, that they can thrive and be a part of bringing that light to the land again. And to me, if we lose our dream, then we lose our future. So we got to bring it together.
It's good. Good words.
So.
Yeah, it really is. What about friends in the area? One of our friends, I think it's a common friend, Doron Kedar. You ever worked with Duran?
Jerome has a very awesome mission that he does some amazing things in regards to bringing that message out to the nations as well. They have a very interesting presentation, and one of the things that they do, which is pretty exciting, is that they're about educating the Christian church on the role of Israel, right? And so it's a challenging one because you're touching a little bit of you're touching one of those little there's like a little thing there. It's almost like a nerve, and I was like, you never know what's going to happen, right? And so, especially in this process of the Jewish people in their fight for the land, and in their since 1948 until today, the sacrifices that they've made, the future they built there, it's one of those things that we have to be massively humble. Like, it's not, we can't just say, okay, we're coming into the land, we're here to help you guys, let's do this together. No, it's like, how can we empower you to do the job? And that's been the mission of Hayuvel. Get behind the Jewish people. And so what Jerome and them have done, and they've got some amazing materials and some of the things, and obviously, and as a disclaimer, anybody watching is like, okay, Caleb's giving the full endorsement to the Cry for Zion movement. There's things in there that obviously they have this mission in there and their thing to do it, and I respect those guys massively and what they're doing. And one of the books that actually he's written, it's called Jerusalem, the Joy of the Earth, I think it is.
Oh, Lars.
Yeah, Lars's book.
Oh.
Yeah, which he works closely with Lars. Yes, he brings up some very interesting points in there that they do challenge our thinking to say, is this really the reality there? Is this really what's taking place? And so, yeah, there's some exciting things happening.
I wanted to say that the way that we met was through Christians United for Israel.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these people that God is bringing together that love Israel. We don't all agree on everything.
Right.
But then we have our Jewish friends like our good friends Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Campbell. What I have learned through our good friend Pastor Haney is that I'm not in this world to save the world or anybody. I'm here, and for my Jewish brothers, I want them to be the greatest Jews they can be.
Mm-hmm.
That means love the Bible, love the Torah, and do what God's called us to do. So, I think that's what we're learning. It's not my job to save the world. My job is to embrace what God has given me to do and to encourage my Christian brothers, but to love my Jewish brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not there. I'm there to love them. And if you love them, everything will. That's our job. Just
Mike,
love them.
you have said something really unique. We have a friend. I don't know if you've met him, Rami. Have you met Rami? You would love Rami.
Rami,
And he
in Rami.
was outside of Tel Aviv, in that area.
He grew
is
up.
where he grew up. And so you said something the other day to Rami that I think would be really good for you to repeat again so that the audience can hear. Something about my friend.
I'm old. I'm the elder.
Something about, if you're right about Messiah or if I'm right about Messiah, just try to repeat.
Yeah, we had Passover Seder with about 25 or 30 people at Passover. So we have our Jewish friend Rami there, and we had Dr. Jim Martin, who lives in Israel and
Brilliant
knows
scholar.
everything about Israel. But of course, we're having two perspectives. Here's our Jewish friends, and we have our Christian friends. So I made sure everybody knew that we're here for the Messiah, and that Ellie, he just passed away. Ellie was up. One time I was at a thing and he said, "Okay, so one of these days the Messiah will come, and we'll say, 'Sir, we are so glad you're here. Now, could you tell us, is this your first trip or your second trip?'" And Rami always tells me if it's his first trip, he's got my back. If it's his second trip, I've got all the juice back. So anyway, whatever happens, we're just ready to handle
We
it.
really are together.
Well, I mean, we all love the Messiah,
Right.
and we agree that the Messiah is coming.
Yes.
But we have some differences. But we can come together with so much more than just
You're
fighting.
addressing a major nerve there, and I think as we're kind of winding down the interview here, it's something that as I have worked very closely with many Israelis and Orthodox and Jewish people that are dear friends,
Yes.
and these are guys that love the Lord.
Oh,
They do.
with all their heart.
And at one point in time, I was actually struggling with the fact, the Christian struggle of how do we how do we interact with the Jewish people, and how do we develop friendships with them and things of that sort, and how do we, keep the level of respect that needs to happen here, and how to honor our different faiths, and yet our faiths are so intertwined in many ways. And I was praying about it, and I said, Lord, if these Jewish people, and I don't understand this at all, but I need to have a complete faith, understanding from you that if these Jewish people have a relationship with you, then I can just continue on the quest that I'm on. I pray that you would show that to me. The next day, one of the vineyard owners I was working with said, hey, Caleb, I've got a worker. I need you to take my truck and go pick him up. So I jumped in the truck and I drove down the hill to pick up this guy, and I picked him up at the bus stop there. He jumps in the truck with me, and I say, Shalom, I'm Caleb, and he says, hi, I'm Nachum. And Nachum turns to me and says, Caleb, sometimes in your walk with God, you feel like he's far away from you. But other times you feel like he's just right there. And he said, today's one of those days I'm just like, wow, Hashem is with me. God is with me. And so from that moment on, I've been challenged, because I basically said, Lord, you know what's going on here. You know what's happening here in the land of Israel. You understand the role of the Jewish people and the role of the Christians that are involved in this quest right now. And at this point, I believe that there are greater battles that we need to fight in the world today. And we can't do them alone. We have to do them together. And so to respect each other's differences, to get a desire to bring in good into the world, establishing the land of Israel is the highest level of global evangelism that we could possibly do.
Amen.
If I'm about getting the world saved, I want to see all those people that hate God. I want to see the starving children in Africa coming to know God, and that transforming Africa. That's what I want to see. But because of the foundation that I have in the faith that I have in God, then I know that He has used the land of Israel as the beacon of light that spans the entire globe, that shows the world who He is. My highest mission right now is to join alongside my Jewish brothers and say, we are with you. We are a part of this redemption process, this restoration process of taking an ancient place that's been forgotten for 2,000 years and bringing it back onto the world stage again, because all eyes are focused there. And guess what? As Israel continues to explode with life, the whole world knows about it. It's an exciting
Good word.
Mike Eisney with Texans for Israel. Give your website.
TexasForIsrael.com.
Okay. Love it. Go there. Check it out. Mike.
Right.
How you been?
I'm working on it. Getting ahead of it.
Come on, Mike.
And Caleb Wall,
Take it up.
you're with Hayavel.
Well, yeah, Hayyovel. So yeah, go check us out. Come work with us on the mountains of Israel and experience the pulsing energy of life. Come back to the land. It's awesome.
This show is all about changing the world. You can do that. That's why we're here, all of us. All three of us here on the set, we're just normal guys doing our best to follow after God and change the world in our own little postage stamp. You can do the same and even greater things. God loves you more than you will ever know, and has a purpose and destiny for your life that will not only change you, not only change your family, but it will change your neighborhood, community, state, world. And He can do it through you. God bless you. Thank you guys for being on the set.
Shalom.
See you next
I love
time.